You know I'm a hustler, hustler. You know I'm a hustler, hustler.
Welcome to Get Biz, Do Biz, Get Pay. I am your host, Luan the Don. In this show, we're going to interview successful business owners in construction and construction coaches. We're going to find out what it really takes to win in the construction industry. What it really takes to make a lot of money, have a great life, and be able to do the thing that you wanted to do. Enjoy. Hey, it's your boy Luan back again with another episode. Get Biz, Do Biz, Get Pay. Today I have a very special guest that many of you might know, heard, hear, seen live. His name is Mike Claudio. Without further ado, I should add a little bit after his name. He's the business builder expert, a motivator, an example, a man that I really respected since I came into the industry, which is a little bit over 3 years ago. And Mike was not the first person that I met, but he was one of the few people that I respected in the industry right now. And it's hard to get in that circle with me if you know me. But I really respect Mike, and therefore I bring him on as a guest to provide y'all with as much value as possible and as much hard-hitting, actionable item as possible. Welcome, Mike.
Thanks, man. Appreciate you having me on. Congratulations on getting the podcast started. It's people think it's simple to just get on a podcast and talk. I mean, this is not as simple process as it might seem, and it takes a lot of work, takes a lot of effort, takes a lot of preparation, and especially getting guests scheduled and organized. Man, it's a lot of fucking work, and it's a lot of work. And so, congratulations to you for making this happen. And I'm very confident you're going to impact a lot of people with the effort you're putting into making this successful. So. Thank you for having me on.
Hey, thank you, man. So, the premise of this podcast, and when I started it, there's no agenda in this, right? It's just how can I get people the most simplest information to better their business like instantly, like just one or two actionable advice that they can take on in each episode, and that's to me that's enough motivation for me to keep going. People always ask me, "What's your plan for the podcast?" I don't fucking know. I ain't got time to think. you know, I just thought.
When I started mine, it was I'm going to stick to releasing an episode a week for the rest of my life. Was my plan. And I was actually looking at it this morning, looking at some stuff on, and I've released 488 episodes of my podcast, Luan. Like 488 episodes. Like it's a constant approach to value add, like you said, giving people tactical advice, but ultimately just don't give up. You just never know where it can take you.
Yeah, actually, from just a little episode I released lately, I had there's so many people reach out, like, just this little thing that they hear from somebody, or they want me to connect a certain people to certain people, if anything that I can help out, while I build my business. I mean, the podcast is important, but if the business took a hit, I won't focus on that. So just for all your two and but on that record, I already recorded like maybe 50 episode already. Just do a hard hitting week, 5 interview a day, 5 interview a day, 5 interview a day. When we were
It's exhausting. It's exhausting.
Yeah, when we were, like we had a slow time in December, and things are kind of up right now. But I got that, at least if I don't do anything, that's whole content for a whole year.
Yeah, that's a lot. It's mentally draining though too. People don't underestimate like being prepared and being organized and just having the conversations. It might seem easy because you're just really good at communication, but I mean, it's 5 episodes a day is a lot. I've done that. It's a lot. So proud of you, man. It's cool to see you. Cool to see you making the effort to make an impact.
Thanks, man. Part of that is, like say, just seeing how it can impact others by just what we know to be true. Like, for example, that's why I named the business Get Biz, Do Biz, Get Paid. So, talk to us a little bit about how, like, building a brand, a long-term play, right? Uh, um, Probably a 3 to 5 year play, personal and business brand can impact your ability to get lead for cheap and to scale your business exponentially.
I think the biggest thing that people underestimate is it's you have a brand whether you're taking it seriously or not. Like people who know you, can bring you value at the rate that they know what you need, they know who you are, they feel like they value from you, so they feel like they owe you one. Like building a personal brand, you're doing it right now, whether you're doing it intentionally or not. So if you're not intentionally doing it, what taste are you leaving in people's mouths? What do they know about you? What do they that they're getting from you? And it's not a 3 to 5 year play, it's a forever play. You're always putting a brand into the marketplace, whether you go to events, when you go to customers houses, when you go to the barbecue, when you go to church, you need to pick your kids up at school, and when you go to the baseball field with your kids, and you're building a personal brand or lack thereof every day. And where so many people look at it as, and I'm not suggesting you're wrong. Yes, it is about getting leads. It is definitely the least expensive monetarily from a lead perspective, and typically the highest propensity to close. It is definitely the best value there. We're building a personal brand. I think it's undervalued. Is there's a problem you're going to have in the future that with a properly built personal brand, you can put out into the marketplace or out onto social media or out into the universe, and somebody in your audience wants to help you. And I think that gets wildly underutilized. Like building a personal brand is substantially more about long-term problem solving and having access to the resources. And they kind of having it like having your board, having like your board of directors, having this group of people around you that conspire to help you. Just as much as there's people out there conspiring to try to tear you down, there's likely equal or greater amount of people that conspire to help you. And you can't articulate now, I can't articulate now exactly how those walls or how that moat of people that want to help you is going to help you in the future. But there's so many problems that having an audience of people that have gotten value from you, there's so many things they can help you with in the future. And I think that's underutilized. It's under talked about in the grand scheme of personal branding. It's not just about getting business and doing business and getting paid. It's about having problems and having somewhere to go find a fucking solution. And it's not. And it's like, do you need childcare? Do you need something with your car? Do you need to buy a car? Do you need to sell a car? For me, like one of the best examples I have of this is, I've been building my personal brand pretty much consistently since 2016. Way before I started coaching, I was using it to get roofing leads, just like you're talking about. But the best example I have about a future problem I didn't know I was going to have, and where my audience and having that personal brand brought me value. At the beginning of 2022, my wife and I started our journey to buy our next house. I don't call it our forever house, but like our major upgrade house. If you don't like, there's a long story behind this. We downgraded into a townhouse for several years to put money back into the business and cut our overhead and really grind on building WinRate. And we did our job. We put money away, we paid off debt, we were driving paid off cars, and it was like time to go buy that house. Like that our budget was $1.2 million. And like when you're living in a townhouse, you're like, man, 1.2 million is going to get me a fucking mansion. And then beginning of 2022, real estate in Charlotte, North Carolina was ridiculous. There were houses worth 600 grand listing for 900,000 and selling for 1.1 million. And I'm looking at like, what am I going to get for 1.2 million in Charlotte? I'm like, it's either a 25-year-old house that's like 6,000 or 7,000 square feet that needs $1.5 million in work done to it because it's so old and dated, or it was like a builder grade 3,500 square foot house in a decent neighborhood in a decent school district. I'm like, this isn't it. And so I made a post on Facebook, and it said, I'm putting this into the universe. I'm looking for a house. I want a house that has 4+ bedrooms, 2+ acres, budget 1.2 million. That's all. It was just bullet. That's all it said. Putting this in the universe, 3 bullet points. That was on a Friday night, March 2022. It was a Friday night in March. Saturday, we went looking at houses again. And it's just, we were looking. We went to like 5 or 6 open houses. And like, we were so demoralized. Like, all of our energy was gone. We were pissed off. And Saturday afternoon, a random person who I had never talked to, never met, never known, who was in my online audience was like, hey, man, I think this listing checks a lot of your boxes. He wasn't the agent on the listing. He wasn't associated with it. He knew the listing agent, but it wasn't his. And out of his own zero benefit to him, just he wanted to help me out, said, hey, I think this checks the boxes. That house was 2 hours away. We drove to look at it that day. We put an offer on it the next day. It's the house we live in right now. This is our perfect house. And like, that's something that I couldn't have prepared to have needed when I started building my personal brand. And I can name, there's hundreds of examples on this, but that's the one. Like, because that dude we had never talked, we had never met in person. He was strictly an audience member of my personal brand. And I made one post with 3 bullet points. I would have never known this house existed. I likely would have overspent on a house in Charlotte. I wouldn't have gotten what I wanted, where I wanted, how I wanted it. And that all happened because of my personal brand. And so I think that's an example of, yes, you're going to get leads. Yes, you're going to create revenue. But where personal branding like really multiplies its value is in having an audience of people that want to help you, that are conspiring to see you successful. Because if you just stick to like who you know in your hometown, you stick to your bros, you stick to your girls, you stick to your family, those people don't actually want you to be successful beyond what they want you to be successful as, or what they believe you deserve. And it's like some of your biggest champions of you are going to be strangers, and some of your biggest enemies are going to be the people you love. And like, you've experienced that, I've experienced that. We've talked about that kind of offline a little bit, but like, building a personal brand is about building people that want to see you successful. And it's typically like your biggest champions and your biggest referral partners and the people that are cheering for you the loudest are people you've likely never met. And the people that you spend every day with, because of this backlog of evidence of who you really are, because you fucked up at one point in your life, and 10 years ago you drank too much, and then you got into drugs, then you got into porn, and you played video games too much. Who are you to deserve? Like, people change. So the person that met you 2 years ago, Luan, when you were on this hunt for deck bros to become an industry standard setting individual, like building incredibly systematic and efficiencies, that person who met you 2 years ago only knows this championship version of you. They don't have the evidence of the backlog of all the bullshit, right? Same with me. People who find me today don't have the years of bullshit. We all have a story. But that's why I believe building that online personal brand, or even locally building a bigger personal brand, you just don't know. You just don't know when you're going to need that audience to make you feel better about yourself. Like, I got a DM today from someone thanking me for the effort. I've never met this person. And sometimes that's what you need. Like, that's the solution to a problem you didn't even know you had. And you're just like, man, I am helping people, right? And like, it makes you want to do more. But I would say overall, it takes daily effort. Again, I'm gonna go back to how I started this whole soapbox rant here, Luan. It takes daily effort to build your personal brand, whether you're taking it intentionally or not. Forever you're meeting somebody for the first time. What do you want them to know about you? What do you want them to believe about you? What do you want them to see and like interpret? What do you want that first impression to be? Forever you're building first impressions. And like, even if you're a fat fuck sitting in your mom's basement on fucking line, like just playing online video games, you're still making an initial impression with somebody when you get that next game, or you get that next Call of Duty shit, or you're playing Fortnite or whatever. What is your handle? How do you communicate? How do you show up? What did you build your avatar to look like? It's all a representation of you. It's all part of the brand. And I don't mean to knock the overweight people in their mom's basements playing video games. There's a place for that, Luan. But bottom line is that person's building a personal brand just the same as you and I are, just differently, and a lot of times with less intentionality, because it requires daily effort. Because a big part of your personal brand, Luan, is how disciplined have you been over how long of a period of time. And so how you look physically, financially, relationship, spiritually, as a parent, as a husband, as a wife, people judge all of that to say, he must be good because he couldn't look like that, be like that, act like that, have like that, love like that if he had not done something really well for long periods of time. This is where like this online guru, Rolex, private jet, exotic car, the reason it's getting picked apart right now is because that used to be the representation of you must have done something really well for a really long period of time to earn that. But the gate of entry into some of these things with rentals and content specific, like I've seen content like co-working spaces that have like private jet rooms that look like you're sitting in a private jet. That's real. That's fucking real. Okay, it's real. And so the point of entry to look as if you've been doing something successful for a long period of time is easier than it used to be. All part of your personal brand, but like, how do you show up? How do you walk? How do you talk? How do you look? How do you cut your hair? How do you keep your beard trimmed? What does your hat look like? What is your shirt, pants, shoes? Like, and it doesn't need to be the best. Like, I don't wear designer shit, but people know I'm fucking successful because of how I talk, my relationship with my spouse, the things that I have, the team that I've built. My team is a representation of my personal brand. My customers are a representation. Everything you do every day is calculated into somebody's perspective of are you worth it or not? And that's not just for deck leads, Luan. That's for like, do I follow this person? Do I engage with this person? Do I refer to this person? When this person asks for help, how likely am I to try to help that person? And I do it to people. You do it to people. It's almost human nature to judge. But we do it, fair or unfair. We judge somebody by the cover. We judge somebody by the evidence. I use this term. I've been using this term a lot right now. I'm way off topic right now, Luan. So you stop me whenever you're ready to stop me. But our self-worth, which is also part of our personal brand, is what do we believe about ourselves? Right? Part of your personal brand is what do you believe about yourself? And I heard something recently. I actually read it in a book. I didn't hear it. I read it, but I've been saying it out loud a lot. And it's your self-worth is a calculation of the evidence of the decisions you make and the behaviors you choose to do, whether you have an audience or not. Ooh. 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 And that evidence, right? That calculation, that is this person valuable or not, comes down to how do we calculate the assumed behaviors and decision making, whether you have an audience or not. I think personal brand, to your perspective, is how am I showing up for other people? I would challenge you that the best way to build a personal brand the right way is how are you showing up for you? How are you holding commitments to yourself? How are you showing up day to day for your spouse? How are you showing up day to day and what you consume, whether that's, the news or content or porn or drugs or alcohol or Bible studies or good, positive, even the music you listen to is part of like the brand. Who am I? Who am I? Who am I listening to? What am I listening to? What am I consuming? Both physically, mentally, spiritually, emotionally. What am I consuming? Am I hanging out with the wrong people? We've been there. Do I like how I'm showing up as a spouse? We've been there. That's all part of the evidence of how valuable is your brand. And I believe it starts every day with every decision and how valuable we believe we are. Because when we don't believe we're valuable, we accept a much lower value from the marketplace. I know I help people. So when I need something, I'm not afraid to ask for it. Because I pour out way more than I ask for stuff. I mean, in 3 years, how many times have you seen me ask for help, Luan, in 3 years? Like, it's like 1,000 to 1. It's like 1,000 pieces of valuable content to one ask. And I know we're off topic, but I think the personal brand dichotomy is so much more than just getting business, doing business, and getting paid. It's about having a value exchange with an audience that believes you're worth it.
Yeah, I completely agree, man. And the reason why I let you finish out your talk there because I think there's something that that's easy for people to do, right? Just have a core value, live out your core value, make sure you tell the world about it. That's how you build your personal brand. Don't think about it. Just live, right? Just
Yeah,
live,
it's. I've been saying it for years. Like, don't create content. Document what you do every day. And if you don't want
right?
people to know what you do every day, then stop doing that shit. Like, like if you don't want people to know, it's probably not something that you should be doing consistently or
Right.
inconsistently or whatever. So,
Right. Right. So that's great, man. It's so basically the way I think about personal brand and what you talk about, it happened to me a lot, man. Like I've been building a local personal brand even ever since before I did construction, and that's how I met Brian Diamond. He goes to the casino, and that's how I met a lot of people, a lot of people that helping me out right now in my business, and that's all stem from people know who I am, you know, and they gotta know
and
who.
wanting to help you. It's not just knowing you. It's like, is this somebody I want to help? Is this somebody I want to invest time, energy, money, knowledge into? Because there's a lot of people that we both know right now that neither one of us would probably want to help, right? Like it's just the truth. It's not just do they know you, is do you seem worth the investment of their time, energy, money, or knowledge? Because that's what
Right,
we're trying to get out of the personal brand. We want people to bring us those things when we need them at different times for different reasons and different seasons. And so it's not just do they know you seem worth it.
right,
Do you seem worth the investment?
and that's basically that's go back to every role lead back to personal development, right? So.
Mm-hmm.
Just like you only do business with a five-star company. I mean, 4.5, it's like the new one star. Like,
It really is. Like if you're below a 4, you might as well not even be there. Like,
like why you even here? Like, right? So the same thing with people. Like, people like to do business with high value people. I don't know how to describe it. You know, just classy people.
well,
Keep
it's a risk analysis. It's like I'm going to, as a consumer or as an audience member, I'm going to put myself out there. I'm going to give them my time or my energy or my money or my knowledge. Is it going to get taken advantage of, or is it going to be used appropriately? Like, it really isn't. Like, the reason people look at reviews and references and testimonials and online branding and website and Google reviews and personal, like, social media. So the reason they look at that is it's an analysis of, it's a risk analysis. Like, how risky is it to invest something of mine with that person? That's 100% it. And so as the marketplace has become, online, at least a little bit more saturated, there's more and more things necessary to stand out. It's not just Google reviews. Like, it used to be just Google reviews. If you're not on all major platforms right now, if you're not involved in local community activity, if you're not online, if consistently, if you're not showing who you are, if all your photos are of projects and there's no human element, there's so much being reviewed right now as part of the risk analysis of, do I or do I not invest whatever asset I'm planning on investing with this person. It's not just one thing. It's not. It's how it's what is the evidence that shows me this person is trustworthy. And there's so many bad people out there. People have been taken advantage of by five-star companies. So five-star is good, but it can't be all. That's where, like, the Google certified or whatever came out, right? I'm not saying that correctly. Google guarantee. The Google guarantee came out, take five-star companies and say, these are the best of the best five-star companies, right? One level up of, how do I differentiate myself? And then it became, the social media, and then the local Facebook groups, and then Nextdoor became a thing, and you got to be recommended there. And then you got to be on social media. You got to be putting out content. They got to see your face. They got to hear your story. Not just are you sharing, what are you sharing? And then it's not just are you sharing or what are you sharing? It's how good is the production? Is the lighting right? Is the camera right? Is it good? There's so much being analyzed right now by consumers. We'll just call it the audience of the brand. What is the risk analysis of investing with this person? And like I think it's just people underestimate how much goes into consumer buying decisions right now, specifically in the home service space. Because when you're selling something, even with one comma in it, no less two commas, people look at that decision differently. It's not a transaction, because then they go even further. What is the buyer's journey? How easy is it to do business with you? All because they're comparing you to the brands they trust, like Amazon, right? Amazon's impossible to keep up with from an ease of use. I can literally think about it, and all of a sudden, like someone's knocking on my fucking window, like, "Hey, you want these?" I'm like, "No, it's shit." Like they're making it just too easy for the average, company to keep up with. But that's who you're being compared to in the analysis of how good is this brand. And without a human element, without the personal branding across multiple platforms, at this point, like you said, 4.5 stars is the new 1 star. Being on one platform only is also the same as being nowhere at this point.
Yeah, man, I think it's right now, I think if you're not out there actively showing your faces, because the personal brand and business branding is kind of
It's all the
merging
same. Yeah.
merging into together. I mean, you don't want to do it anymore. You can brand another person into your business, but somebody always got to be the face of the business and at the face of your personal brand. And it's one platform is not enough. Google is not enough. And to be honest, Google, there's not enough space to tell a story there. People
Mhm.
go to buy shit, they don't want to read about your bullshit. I need that. They read a couple reviews, 5 star, call, and I'm most likely to buy. And that's why there's
Yeah.
a competition on there. But the real juice is the local marketing, local Facebook group. Is the Facebook is the next door? Are you recommended enough on there? And that
Yeah.
can't happen without a brand, because brand to me is simple. What people talk about you when you're not there, without you forcing, them to say it. They say it voluntarily. So the key word is voluntary. What are people saying about you
Mhm.
voluntarily? And how can you influence those words that they are gonna say? You can do it, but if you can do that, you got a brand, a good brand.
Well, and when you're only competing, let's say on Google, you're only competing for the 7% of the marketplace that's ready to make a decision right now. When you're building a personal brand, you're competing for the 60% of people that will make a decision to buy what you sell at some point in the future. Like I want to, like my goal, because like when I first got into the home service industry, like doing remodeling and roofing and stuff like that, I didn't have a marketing budget. So like I needed to beat the consumer to Google. I wasn't trying to compete on Google. I was trying to beat them to Google by getting them referred to me before they even Googled it. And when you look at like the online branding environment, when you're trying to put out content today to for people ready to make a decision, it's literally scientifically shown, like statistically shown that 7% of any marketplace is ready to make a decision to buy whatever it is you're selling today. Only 7%. There's 93% that need to be nurtured over a much longer period of time. And that's also a major value of the personal brand is I catch them before they even want it. I become known for that thing before they even want it. So when they're ready to make a decision, I'm not competing for that person anymore. They already decided I'm the guy. Like if I'm in your marketplace, the one, and I'm not in the market for a deck right now. But I see you, and I see you on the internet, and I see you being recommended, and I see deck bros driving around town with their vehicles, and I see Google stuff, and then like I'm gonna buy a house. Let's just say in 2 years. When 2 years, when I buy that house and it needs a deck, I'm calling you. There's no competition. I'm not competing. Like you as a brand, Luan and Deck Bros isn't competing for me as a lead anymore. I made the decision to hire you before I even got to the decision point. And that's also some people like wildly underestimate when you're competing for pay per click and Google ads and online advertising for the person ready to make a decision right now. It's only on average, 7% of the marketplace. That's a lot of competition, right? That's a lot of supply, limited amount of demand, or a lot of demand, a limited amount of supply for right now. So that backwards. It's a lot of supply, a limited amount of demand for right now. And I certain people are not going to be able to compete with larger companies. They don't have the marketing budget for it. I'd rather compete for the person who's going to make a decision in 18 months and then be the only option for that person when it's time to make that decision.
Uh, that's powerful because the brand let me allow to just go in there and walk out with a check 15 minutes later. Like
Yeah, the decision was made way before you got there. Yeah,
yeah,
100%. 100%.
they already like, hey, we gonna hire you. Just get your ass out here and give me the
Yep.
product. And
Yep.
I don't say that because I'm bragging. I say that just to show the possibility that what it can do. I mean, I sold almost 5 million by myself last year. Do I want to do that again? Fuck no.
Not a lot of work, bro.
Out of work, but the market is blessing me with that many leads. I have to go, build business on.
Yep.
So, but that's just to say the power of a personal brand. Like they already know who you are. Like it's content, right? So it's just, every time they're looking for a deck, I'm already in their face time and time and time again. And I catch 100% of the market, not 7%. Like we do some of the cool stuff that, in the background that have weaponizing leveraging the know, like, and trust already, using some, I call it law of reciprocity. If you do something nice to people, they are apt to do something nice to you back. But if you keep doing nice things to people, then they're gonna keep referring you.
Yep.
So, but anyways, let's take a detour here to okay, now that you got say you got a brand, you got a shitload of lead coming in. How do you convert those lead into like cash without like there's a process there that we have to kind of dissect, right? So it's say you got a bunch of leads like that. How you know who to sell to?
So I when I first started coaching, I started actually in sales coaching. It's what I knew. It's what I knew best. I didn't realize some of the other skill sets I had in leadership and personal development, that kind of stuff. Like those are things I kind of learned were valuable over time. But early on, and I followed the same, we'll say, 4-step process for a long time. And it was identify, qualify, or identify, target, qualify, acquire. Identify, target, qualify, acquire. So it's identify who your ideal client is. Like you have to know who they are, where they are, their scope, their geographic location, their budget. Like you need to really understand who your ideal client is, because one of the worst things you can do is fill your pipeline with low quality leads. Because when they sign, then it's just a whole bunch of production bullshit that like really weighs you down as an organization, right? So identify, first you got to identify. Target, we talked about, right? I'm not going to go over target. Like, let's go out and get in front of them. We talked about that. But then qualifying them is something I think a lot of companies miss, because it's in every part of the process. It's from the intake form. It's from the website. It's from the content you talk about. It's from the questions you ask when they first come in. And like qualifying is, in my opinion, the most valuable part of the sales process, because it creates the highest propensity to succeed once you spend the time to go get in front of somebody. Like in the home service sales, it is an incredibly time consuming sales process, right? You got to drive out there, you got to create an estimate, you got to deliver the estimate, you got to do the follow-ups, you got to, there's a lot that goes, and depending on what you sell. I mean, some are obviously slower than others, but it's very time consuming. And so I wanted to spend as much time on the highest propensity people as possible. So like if I'm getting a bunch of leads right now, the first thing I would look at doing is qualifying out the bad ones and really identifying who are the good ones that are in that pipeline. So I can put, I rather put, as an example, I rather put the right amount of effort into 8 quality leads and close like 5 or 6 of them, than put my effort spread out amongst 20 leads and close 3 to 5 of them. And the reason, like it's even the same 5 or 6 is still a bad percentage, but you're likely to close less with that many bad leads because your time gets spread so thin. You can't deliver the right client experience to everybody. And so once I get my qualification process down, whether that's from the website, the intake form, the initial phone call, maybe even like an automated video that gets sent, identifying who you are, what you want, what's ideal. once you've gotten really good at that qualifying, you want to input the human element as fast as possible. I love using video. I love using video follow-up. I love using video to say, hey, I'm on the way. I love using video to say, hey, I'll use like an HVAC company. Like I'll send out a video of the technician that's on the way to their house. Hey, hey, my name is Mike. I'm the technician that was assigned to your project. I'll be out, in about 30 minutes. Looking forward to meeting with you, yada, 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 whatever. And like, once it's qualified, you want to be able to deliver the best human element differentiating factor as possible, because home service is not a unique, independent, competitive environment. Everybody can offer the same shit. Like Luan, you have access to the same subs, the same product, the same fasteners everybody else does. And so how you differentiate yourself is the human element. And so once you've done the qualification, to be able to input the right amount of human touch is really mapping the client experience. Clifton, Muckenfoos is one of the best client experience mappers I've ever met. Like he's very good at seeing and having empathy for how the client journey, but like really documenting that and plugging in automation blended with human element, blended with, some inconvenience. What I mean by inconvenience is people really value the inconveniences. So the handwritten note, the customized recorded video, sending a gift or sending a thank you card or whatever, like those inconveniences are actually seen as more valuable than some of the automations. Even though the automation is maybe more robust and maybe more professionally shot, people know that they're kind of triggered and automated for the most part. The consumer is getting smarter to that stuff. And so I'd say having a really good blend in your client experience journey of automation, human element, i.e. video and audio, and then blend in some real obvious inconveniences, because people really, really value the inconvenience. And like it's one of those things, again, that separates you from the competition because it is inconvenient. It isn't automated, but at least at WinRate, it's been a long time since I've sold remodel work. I mean, I sold the last roof I sold was in 2018, but I used video. I used handwritten notes. I used to send gifts. I would send like edible arrangements. One time I really wanted to do business with this commercial GC. I think you'll appreciate this. And so they were a small to medium commercial GC. They were probably doing about 100 million a year, which is a small to medium commercial general contractor. Like that's not a huge company. And they probably had about 20 to 25 employees, if I remember correctly, somewhere between 20 and 30. And I wanted to do business with them so bad, man. I met with estimators. I hand wrote cards. I sent videos and all that. And it just like, I was getting opportunities, but I wasn't closing, right? I was putting out a lot of estimates, but wasn't closing. So one Christmas, I got a list of the name of every employee at the company. And I sent every one of them a large cheesecake. And I went to this cheesecake company and I said, hey, I want to send 30 cheesecakes to this one. They individually packaged and named every cheesecake and delivered it on a fucking pallet. So like imagine showing up to work one day and there's a pallet of cheesecakes at the front door. I got a personal call from the CEO that day. Like, man, like he just didn't even know what to say, but he felt like he had to call to say something. And it was like a day or two before Thanksgiving. It was a day or two of Thanksgiving. And I got so many emails after Thanksgiving about how great the cheesecake was and thank you so much. And so I was being intentional, I was being thoughtful, I was being different, and I spent maybe $30 per cheesecake. So for less than $1,000, I probably, oh man, millions of dollars in projects came from that relationship. Millions. I spent $900 to differentiate myself. And so that's an example of, maybe an extreme example, but an example of when you're building your client experience, once the lead comes in, how are you creating a human element? How are you using automation to stay in touch? And what inconveniences are you wrapping into that client journey? Because I believe the inconveniences at this point, when so many other things are automated and AI and self-checkout and all the other bullshit, I think I even saw recently that like Walmart or somebody was like taking self-checkout out because of how many complaints they got about the experience. Like people want human element. They want to talk to people. It might've been Kohl's. And I saw an article about it recently, but like consumers know that most companies are seeing how inexpensive and automated can we make it. So I like putting inconveniences. Like we mail out the gift boxes, right? With the hats and the shirts and everything else. It's a big box with stickers and pens. And like, I love doing shit that people aren't expecting because it's what helps us stand out.
Man, the inconveniences, those are the money move, man.
Yeah, they really are.
I've been writing handwritten notes ever since I was delivering paper out. When I had a client back in the casino day, I wrote them, I sent them gift, handwritten card on a certain particular milestone that they have. Maybe it was a birthday, maybe it was anniversary, maybe it was Thanksgiving, maybe it was Christmas. But what I'm saying is there's so many opportunity for you to make an impact here. And I think that that's the lost art of building really personal connection. And you might never meet some of these clients, but a handwritten note, like let them like they on Facebook somewhere yelling your name. They're on Nextdoor somewhere yelling your name. Fuck, they at
Yeah.
the Thanksgiving dinner say, "Oh man, who gave you these cheesecake?" Oh shit, Mike Claudio.
Yep.
Mike Claudio, the dude hooked me up, and your
And you
and your
can do it really inexpensively too. Like I know people that send like a happy birthday video to everybody on their friend every day. They go through everybody whose birthday is and send them a quick video. Like it doesn't have to be expensive. I think people look at inconveniences as expensive. No, inconvenience is not how much you spend, it's how much time you put into it. Handwritten cards take time, but it's like, how do you track this shit? You better have a robust CRM that you're updating regularly, right? Because you have to track this stuff about birthdays and favorite teams and what do people like, and then utilizing task management tools to remind you to do that at some point in the future. Like it's not difficult, but let me say this, it's not complicated, but it's not easy, right? Like it just takes daily effort. A little bit of daily effort creates so much momentum and wins. It's wildly underutilized in my opinion.
if like I say, people were doing it, they wouldn't suffer in business. That
Agreed.
uh,
And a lot of people start doing it and then stop doing it. Like when they get busy, they stop doing the shit that got them busy. And like that's where I see a lot of people fail. They stop doing the stuff that got them busy to begin with. And like that's one of the bigger issues I see in the marketplace too, is like they started doing that when they had no clients. They were knocking doors, they were going to events, they were shaking hands, they were following up with people aggressively. And they get busy and they stop doing that stuff. And like that'll hurt a business at any level. I don't care how big or small you are. When you stop doing the shit that got you busy, you're gonna stop being busy at some point. I promise you. And people just, I don't think they do it intentionally. But they're not doing it. They're not doing it intentionally. They're not intentionally maintaining those things. They're not intentionally doing the work that we're talking about right now.
right. And you know, and most like I know what I want. You know what you want, right? But most people don't know what they want to even be intentional about anything, in my opinion. Because like when I didn't know what I wanted, like I try everything, like nothing makes sense, right?
Mhm.
But until you get clarity on what you want, then it's like, you stay up hours doing it, doing what necessary to make it happen, right? So, how do you have any like tips for people for finding out, for having some clarity in whatever stage of life and business?
Um, that's a lot. That's a big question. There's a lot that goes in. I know you know that, man. It's not a simple answer, but I'll do the best I can to provide some context and some tactical advice people can take away today. So most of us, I'm going to speak to business owners first. So most business owners, when they started their business, it was about more than money, right? The mission was like, screw that guy, or I can do it better. Or like I want to build something meaningful for my kids, or I want to build freedoms. Most people when they start their business, it's less about the money and more about something else, because most of us didn't experience money before starting business, right? There are uniques out there, but I think a lot of people when they start a business, money's part of it, but money's not the biggest part of it. And then over the course of success, people pivot from a mission to protecting the money they made, right? So
Mhm.
like they're afraid of taking risks. They went from like no money and I'm mission driven, to getting some things, getting some level of success, getting some money, and then their mission completely pivots to protecting the money they made. And like Yes, I'm not suggesting throw money away and go bankrupt. Like people like to twist my words. Like, so fuck you, whoever's trying to do that right now. What I'm saying is get back to and answer the questions around why did you start your business to begin with? Because it wasn't about money. I'm very sure of it. I'm sure money was part of the equation, but it wasn't the biggest part. And I think people get away from making, unified, intentional decisions towards a desired outcome because the desired outcome pivots towards how do I protect the money? How do I protect cash flow? How do I protect payroll? How do I protect the house? How do I protect my? Everything goes towards protecting the money, and then you forget about the mission as to why you started. So I would challenge everybody to figure out, why did you start? Look back at why you started the business, because it wasn't about protecting money. It wasn't about scarcity mindset. It wasn't about making sure there's a certain amount of money in the bank account. Like, it wasn't about payroll. It wasn't about any of that shit. It wasn't about tax strategy. Most of us started our company for a mission way bigger than just financial gain and protection. So I ask you, why did you start your company? And are you still living up to that? And I'll ask you even this. If the version of you now met the version of you then, would that person be proud of who you became? I think a lot of people get away from that. Like, I'm never going to turn into that type of business owner. The fuck? It's like people without kids saying, my kids aren't going to watch iPads. Okay, sweetheart. Like, you ain't got kids, you don't know. Like, and so we all have these aspirations as well as these fears, what we're going to turn into. And so I'd say, look back. With the version of you that started your company, look at the version of you and who you became now. Would that person be proud of you? Would they be proud of how you ended up as a husband or as a father, as a wife, as a mother, as a leader, as somebody who is operating within values and mission driven? Or is it all about the money right now and fuck everybody because you got burned a couple times? That happens. It happens to everybody, but it's how you course correct once it happens that matters. The second tactical thing I would give you is you got to answer two questions. I use these two questions with a lot of clients I work with, because I work with a lot of successful business people that are trying to be successful in life. That's a lot of the clients I work with now. Like, they've had some success in business, but they want to be successful in life. And so, like, they're underperforming their health or their marriage or their finances or their kids or whatever. Like, they're not happy with who they are outside of the business success. And I would ask you two questions. The two questions are, who do you want to be and what do you want to be known for? That goes all the way back. That ties a bow on the whole fucking personal branding things too, because everything you put out and everything you do and everything you document needs to live up to the answers to those questions. And so I'm not going to break it down completely. It's more of a robust training that I'm actually doing at the Q1 event next week. Is like, what roles in your life are actually most important to you? People forget about this. Husband, father, athlete, chef, Uber driver for your kids, homeschool teacher, educator, salesman, ARAP manager, estimator, content creator. There's so many fucking roles that we try to play we don't even realize, right? And so what roles actually matter to you? Because don't even get me into friend, volunteer, philanthropist. There's only so many fucking roles you can play successfully. And so you figure out what roles are most important to you, and then you identify who do you want to be in that role and what do you want to be known for in that role. So I operate on 4 primary roles, okay? Husband, father, leader, athlete, and in that order intentionally. So who do I want to be and what do I want to be known for as a husband? Who do I want to be known for as a father? Who do I want to be and what do I want to be known for as a leader? And who do I want to be and what do I want to be known for as an athlete? And no, I'm not a competitive athlete, but I want to operate my life as if I am a competitive athlete, because it's how I prepare, it's how I diet, it's how I hydrate, it's how I sleep. I make different decisions physically when I see myself as a competitive athlete. I may not be competing right now. I've done, obviously organized sports, collegiate sports, jiu-jitsu, CrossFit. I've ran some half marathons. Like, I've done it. I'm not currently competing towards something, but I want to look at myself as an athlete who is competing, because when you are getting ready for a competition, you make decisions differently. And I'm fucking competing every day, Luan. I'm competing every day to be the best version of myself, to go out into the marketplace and and help people in their businesses. Like I compete every day. And so when I view myself as a competitive athlete, I make decisions differently. Like I decided to go sober for 2024. Like I didn't drink that much in 2023, but I was like, if I'm going to get my business to this next level I aspire to, I need to be on all year. So drinking is just not an option for me this year. There's just no option. There's no plan B. It's just, that's it. Decision made. And once I make decisions like that, it becomes easy. It's not like this inconvenience. I don't feel disappointed by it. It's just a decision. But if you look at that and you're trying to play a dozen or even 24 different roles in your life, that's where you're falling short, because you can't be good at 20 different roles in your life. And that's where like buying back your time in your business becomes so valuable. It's not about what you spend in the business. It's about what can you put that effort towards? What matters more to you than running $5 million in sales calls, right? You know for a fact it's going to be harder to train those people, harder to do that same amount of revenue. It's going to be more inconvenient, but buying back your time, Luan, and getting a sales team is important enough because of what it's going to do for you in the other roles of your life that matter.
Thanks.
And so identify the roles that matter most, and then answer 2 questions. Who do I want to be in that role, and what do I want to be known for in that role? And then like you have to start cutting things out. You know, things for me, like I'm not a bad friend. I'm a disengaged friend. I don't have time to be a friend right now. That doesn't make me a bad friend. I'm actually a really, really good friend. I just am not prioritizing time for it right now, which just means I'm a disengaged friend. Things like even son, like I don't spend a lot of time with my parents. We moved away. I see them less. So like son is a little bit lower on my priority list right now than father. You know, I got 8 and 5-year-olds, man. They need everything they can get from me. You know, volunteer. I used to volunteer at church. I don't volunteer at church anymore because it just doesn't fit what my primary mission is right now. And then like being comfortable and confident being that selfish with your time. Like it does require an extreme amount of selfishness, because I'll end on this point. I did a presentation, you know, I've done a couple presentations, like keynote speeches lately. And one of my slides says, saying no to the things that don't matter is the greatest gift you can give the ones that do. Saying no to the things that don't matter is the greatest gift you can give the things that do. Yeah. And like that's where selfish and boundaries and what you are actually capable of doing at a level you'd be proud of comes into play. And you have to be able to identify what are those things, to be able to say no with intention and not just being a needy little bitch. You got to say no with intention, right? But look, I mean, that is a very robust process that can be difficult to execute on your own, but that's what I would suggest doing.
Yeah, so I mean that's gold, man. If for the people who listening, if they have any question, they can reach out to you, right?
Yep, absolutely.
Great consultant, and I mean this process helped me get clear on my business. Like what do I want? What do I want to do in business and in life? And then, you know, all the decisions that come next become easy. Like I don't think about anything right now. I just do it, you know, and it's might sound hard for people to understand but I know exactly what I want, you know.
Yep.
And
yeah, when you become clear, I mean, life just sails a lot smoother.
yeah, and
because you get rid of all the unnecessary thought process and thinking and too many yeses. And you know, look, this is what I do for a living, man. I am a business and life coach. This is what I do every day with high performers. And so if you're somebody looking to evolve or grow, you know, go to winrateconsulting.com, go to workwithwinrate.com, go to mikeclaudio.com. There's shit everywhere. I'm not hard to find, but you got to decide what you want, because it comes into the entire part of this conversation of your personal brand, to the sales process, to the human element, to who you're hiring, to what you're offloading and then delegating, to really winning in the aspects of life that matter most. You got to define it first.
what is one thing that everybody can do right now to kickstart 2024, Mike?
one thing everybody do to kickstart 2024? I would say, like, I'm not going to say everyone. If you're struggling getting your personal branding going, I would suggest you go live every day for the next 30 days and just talk about your day to the audience. And the simplest format would be wins, losses, lessons learned. If every day for the next 30 days you went on a Facebook Live or a TikTok Live or Instagram Live, wherever you're most comfortable utilizing, go live and review your wins, your losses, and your lessons learned from that day. Do that for 30 days, and you'll be amazed at how many people you help, which I believe will help catapult momentum to make you continue doing it.
Oh, so good, so good. With that, man, thank you so much for coming on. Such a good hour, man. Just sitting here and listening.
That was a good one. That was a long. I haven't done an hour-long podcast in a while. That was a lot. I appreciate you bringing me on. Great questions, and I appreciate you letting me rant for a little bit.
What I do, I let you speak your mind, and so much great thing that come out of it because I know because you have experiencing that, you have already done it, and that's just your process. So to many of the listener, it's like if somebody already done it, it can work for you. It's not like we copycats. You know,
Mhm.
that's how we learn from the day we were born. We copy people. So my trick is like if there are other people to copy, shit, why am I staying the same?
It's
You
fair. That's fair. Cool, man. Well, I appreciate it, man. Thank you so much for having me on.
You know I'm a hustler, hustler. You know I'm a hustler, hustler.
Thank you so much for tuning in. If you find this episode helpful or if it changed your life in a positive way in any manner, please share with another friend, tell another friend about this podcast, or even contact me if you're a construction business owner that have a great story to tell. Please do contact me. Again, thank you. Until next time. I see him on the gram while they flexing rubber bands. I'm working on my foreign exchanges.